Alright, let's tackle this word problem. Mr. Dirksen is 15 years younger than twice Mr. Ray's age. If the sum of their ages is 90, how old is Mr. Dirksen and Mr. Ray? Now the first thing you should notice about this one is that we're trying to find two different things. How old is Mr. Dirksen and how old is Mr. Ray? So because of that, we're going to have two unknowns. We're going to have to first of all find Mr. D's age equals, and we're going to have to find Mr. Ray's age equals. So there's actually two different things we have to define. So this is what makes this problem particularly difficult. So here's what we need to do. We're going to use this information here. Mr. Dirksen is 15 years younger than twice Mr. Ray's age. We're going to use this. And what we're looking for is to see how one person's age is described in terms of the other person's age. So if you look, it shows that Mr. Dirksen is, so Mr. Dirksen is like an equal sign, 15 years younger than twice Mr. Ray's age. So really, to know Mr. Dirksen's age, you need to know my age first. So I'm going to use just a single variable. I'm going to use an R for my age. So now I can build an expression for Mr. Dirksen's age. Mr. Dirksen is, there's that part right here, 15 years younger than, that would be a minus 15, twice Mr. Ray's age, so 2 times R minus 15. So now we have an expression for both people's age. So what we're going to do is we are going to combine those expressions into an equation. To do that, we are going to use this piece of information. If the sum of their ages is 90, so the sum of these ages is 90, so that tells us that 2R minus 15 plus R equals 90. So now we have an equation that we can actually solve. So let's work through this. Remember, we're going to simplify first. So there's a 2R plus R. So that gives us 3R minus 15 equals 90. Now we will use our inverse operations, plus 15 on the left and plus 15 on the right, property of equality. Cancel, cancel. 3R equals 105. We'll undo multiplication with division. Those cancel, leaving us with R equals 35. So we're not quite done here. This is just my age, but the question actually asks us to find both people's ages. So to find Mr. Dirksen's age, what we're going to do is we're going to use the expression that we created for Mr. Dirksen's age. So Mr. Dirksen is 2R minus 15, and we're going to substitute in 35 minus 15 equals 70 minus 15, which equals 55. So apparently Mr. Dirksen is 55 and Mr. Ray is 35. Let's do a check of that work. Now to do a check step here, there's actually a couple ways we can do this. We can use our original equation that we created, or better yet, I'm going to use that information if the sum of their ages is 90. So let's actually just check that. We're told Mr. Dirksen is 55, or at least that's what we think. Mr. Ray is 35, and that should equal 90. Well, let's find out. 55 and 35 is in fact 90, which equals 90. So yes, it appears that the sum of our ages is in fact 90. So now we will use our word sentence. We'll say Mr. D is 55 and Mr. Ray is 35 years old. So let's do a recap here. The first thing we did over here is we defined variables or expressions for Mr. Ray's age and Mr. Dirksen's age. The second thing we did over here was we combined those expressions to make an equation. The third thing is we solved the equation. And we found Mr. Dirksen's age. The fourth thing we did was a check step. And then the final thing we did over here is we wrote a word sentence to answer the original question. So that's how we can solve and that's how we can solve word problems that have us find more than one unknown value.